Okay. Can you guys see this all right?
Yep.
Cool. So today I'm going to be walking you through a quick tutorial kind of about how we can apply CAD, which is computer-aided design, to internet security. So first of all, some of you might not know, what is CAD? So CAD is a way to design things in 3D on computers. And so almost everything in the modern world has been designed in CAD, since it's an easy way to visualize how things will fit together before someone actually builds it. For example, we could CAD things like a mouse, a chair, and what we can do with CAD is machine the stuff, like 3D printing it and using a CNC machine. So almost everything is made in CAD, and it's very applicable to the 21st century. Okay, so one application of CAD is robotics, which is sort of why I'm here, because I'm part of a robotics team, which in FTC, which is a robotics organization that hosts yearly competitions. And so we usually model our robot in CAD. For example, you can see in the corner and a quick video of an animation we made. So what we're going to do here today is kind of make a model in Onshape. And so if you don't already have it, I'd recommend just signing into Onshape here. I'll leave this slide up for like 5 minutes while I talk about just who I am and what we're going to do. So you guys can go ahead and close, or yeah, sign into Onshape, and then I'll talk about who I am. So I am Shimon. I'm a sophomore at Interlake High School. And as I said, I'm on a robotics team. So on my robotics team, I am the hardware lead, meaning that I manage everything related to building the robot. And so I'm pretty well versed in computer-aided design. Specifically, I normally use Fusion 360, which is made by Autodesk, but the skills apply everywhere since almost all CAD programs nowadays are the same. So I can show you guys some pretty cool details. Yeah. Oh yeah, and so what we're gonna make today is a camera cover, for example, for a webcam or for the camera on your laptop. And so today, yeah, a lot of websites want to access your camera nowadays. So it's really important to stay private in terms of not accidentally turning on your webcam when you don't want to. So we're going to try and make a small device that can go over your camera to make sure that it's never on when you don't want it to be on. Also, if you're on your phone or something and you don't want to sign into Onshape, or you can't at the moment, that's totally fine. You can still just follow along and then do the same thing later if you want to. Okay. All right. So I hope most of you guys who wanted to have signed up. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue and talk about the overall process of how CAD works. So in general, with computer-aided design, the process is to start with a flat sketch that is kind of the base for your design. And then from that flat sketch, we can make a component, which is something that's 3D, and you can do different modifiers on, like make a hole, round a corner, things like that. But with your 3D, you always base that off of a sketch. So components come from sketches, and then with multiple components, you can create an assembly, which is what you normally see in pictures where a bunch of individual smaller parts come together to make something bigger, like this mouse in the picture. And so some important vocabulary that I've bolded here at the bottom is sketch, which is the flat drawing, component, which is that 3D object, and then assembly, which is the stuff put together. And you'll hear these words all throughout your time using CAD, because these are just kind of the general terms for these things. Okay. So now let's talk about what we're going to design. So as I said, it's something that'll go over your camera. And so from the research I did looking up potential designs, I saw 3 major categories. So there are ones that just kind of slip over your laptop and webcam. There are ones that you can stick to your laptop and webcam, and then there's a little tab that you can slide back and forth. And there are ones that you can flip up and down to cover your webcam or uncover. So since we don't have too much time today, I'm going to go with the first option, which is just a simple 1 component piece that slides over your webcam. Okay, so here are some more pictures of potential designs. And so I'm going to go ahead and hop into Onshape and show you guys how you can go about making something like this. And so for this part, I'd recommend you can kind of see what I'm doing. And then once I'm done, you can try and imitate the same thing. And I'll have some breaks if anyone wants to ask questions or catch up. So yeah, so here's what Onshape looks like. It's in the web. And so what you want to do to create a new component or a new part is go create in the corner and then create a new document. So then you can name this document. I'll call this camera cover, since that's what we're making. And I can just click enter. And so right off the bat, you can see we're in this kind of 3D environment. And so with Onshape, the controls are right click to kind of rotate your camera, middle click on a mouse to pan around, and then left click to select. And so if you use right click to turn your camera around, you can see that we have 3 planes. These are the X, Y, and Z planes. And so these are the planes that you can make your sketches on. And so to do that, what we can do is in the top left corner, click sketch, and then select a plane as it says in the top left. So I'm just going to select the top plane. It doesn't really matter. It's just like whatever you prefer. So I'm going to select top plane. And so now, as you can see in the top left, we've entered sketch mode. And you can see that there's this kind of faint rectangle on that plane that I selected. So to kind of get a better view of this and to be completely top down, you can click on the top of this little cube up here, and that'll automatically align you to a plane. Yeah, so these are kind of the basic movement controls in Onshape and creating a sketch. Okay, so now let me just really quickly go back to our inspiration. So here is the things that we're going to base our design on. So I'm personally going to design something like this orange one up here, just because it has a good amount of complexity and I can demonstrate some cool things to you guys. So, so when I look at this from a CAD point of view, what I see is this big front plane. And so I'm thinking that what we can do is make this a sketch and then extrude this out to make it 3D. So let's start by doing that. Okay, so to make a rectangle, you can go up here to this bar with a bunch of shapes and tools, and you can click on the corner rectangle, or just rectangle. And so what this allows you to do is click in two places and make a rectangle. For example, I could click here in the origin and click somewhere else. For example, here, and now I have a rectangle, and that's really cool. And so what we can do with this rectangle is either drag, sorry, I was still in rectangle mode, and when I clicked, I made a new rectangle. So I'll just hit Control Z to move that. So what we can do with this rectangle is drag the corners around, kind of edit the dimensions. And so this works for editing the size of the rectangle, but it's very imprecise since we can't put in specific values. And so what we can do to solve that is up here, we can find the dimension tool right here. So we can click on the dimension tool, click on an edge that we want to dimension, drag out, and then type in our dimension. For example, I'll say this can be 10 millimeters. And there we go. There's a rectangle with a side length of 10 millimeters. So this is kind of small, so I'll scroll to zoom in, and then I'll dimension the other side in the same way. So this can also be 10 millimeters. All right, now we have a rectangle. So I'm imagining that this rectangle is one of these side kind of rectangles. So now I'm gonna go make this center rectangle. So what we can do to do that is grab the rectangle tool and make another rectangle starting from this side, extend out and click. And so again, I'll use the dimension tool to make sure these are concrete values. So I'll click the top here, drag it out. I want this to maybe be 50 millimeters. And I want this side to be, I'll say 10 millimeters again. All right, perfect. So now we have two rectangles. But one thing that you might notice is that if you, first you hit escape to stop being in the dimension tool. And if you drag this around, you can drag this rectangle wherever you want, which isn't great because again, it's not a precise value. And in CAD, it's all about having precise values and measurements. So to fix this, we can again use the dimension tool, but this time, instead of selecting an edge, we can select 2 points. For example, we can select this top point and this point to specify the distance between those two. And so if we click again, I'll say that's 5 millimeters. So now this point should be in the center of this line. Since this is 10, this is 5. All right, perfect. And now if we hit escape and try and drag stuff around, as you can see, nothing moves, which is really good because it means everything has a concrete and precise value. Okay, now let's make the other side of this. So as you can see, or I guess it's behind their finger, but there's another rectangle like this. So again, let's use rectangle tool. I'll start on this edge and I'll make another rectangle and then use the dimension tool again. So this will be 10, the same as the other side. This will also be 10. And again, just like we did on this side, I'll make a dimension between this point and this point. That's going to be 5. Okay. And so now if we try dragging points or lines around, nothing moves, meaning everything is constrained and locked in. This is perfect. So now that we're done with this flat sketch, what we can do is click the check mark to finish the sketch. And as you can see, we've successfully created a flat sketch that we can turn into our 3D design. So does anyone have any questions up to this point? You guys can just like post them in chat or turn on your mics. Oh, okay. So someone asked, how do you get the top sketch thing in sketch 1? Oh, okay. So I think what you mean, how to align your camera with a plane. So to do that, you go to this top cube. Okay, yeah, so there should be this cube in the top right. And what you can do is click on the faces of the cube. For example, I can click on top, and then this will align me to the top plane. I can click on front, and it'll align me to the front plane. All right, perfect. And then someone else asked, I'm not sure how to change dimensions. So to change a dimension, so first I'll go back into my sketch. I can do this on this window on the left. I'll double click the sketch and that's back in. And then again, top. So to change a dimension, if you already have a dimension created like I do, what you can do is double click on it and then type in a new value, for example, 20. We'll change that back to 10. But if you want to create a new dimension, for example, if I didn't have this one and this can move around, what I could do is click on the line that you want to dimension, drag it out, and then click again. And so this will show this pop-up box. And then what you can do is just type in your value. Okay. And then, all right, perfect. Okay, how do we put the squares in? So there on this top bar, there's a tool called rectangle, just a picture of a rectangle. First, you click that tool, and then to create the actual rectangle, you can press once to create one corner, and then press again to create another corner. And so those will be the diagonal corners, and you have a rectangle. So just click Control Z. Yeah, and then one more thing I forgot to mention is that if you create a rectangle with one of the points on an existing line, the rectangle will automatically constrain itself so that that point is always on that line. Right? So like now, if I try and drag this point around, it always stays on the line. Okay. Okay. I'll just go ahead and move on, and then we can have more questions at the end. So now that we have this three-dimensional sketch, what we need to do is turn it into a 3D object. For example, right here, we have this sketch of kind of a rectangle with another rectangle inside it, and we can push that out to make a 3D object, as you can see here. So in Onshape, the way we do that is in the corner over here on this top toolbar, there's the extrude tool. And so clicking on the extrude tool, it requires us to select some faces that we want to extrude, and then, sorry, the distance that we want to extrude them to. So for example, I can click this face, and it'll extrude them a certain distance. And I can customize that by either dragging this arrow around or typing in a depth here. So for example, I can type in 5 millimeters. Yeah, and then it'll change to 5 millimeters. And so right now, what I want to make is I want to make this front plane kind of, right? So I just want to add a little bit of thickness to our entire sketch. And so I'll select all of the box or all of the rectangles that we have so far and extrude them out a little bit. And then I can click the check mark to confirm that. And there we go. We have a 3D object. Okay. And so now that we have this, I'm going to go ahead and make this kind of bridge on the edge to bridge it over to the other side of the camera. And so to do this, what we can do is make another sketch on our 3D object. And we can do this because, as you can see, this is a plane. The same way that these 3 original planes are flat objects, each one of the sides of our 3D object is also flat. So what we can do is, as we did before, click on the sketch. And now, instead of selecting one of the big planes, we just select one of the planes on our object. So clicking on this, and then see, as you can see in the top left, we're in sketch mode. So now we can, again, click on the cube to go to the top. And there we go. So now what we can do is make a couple rectangles here on the top to kind of to have that bridge that goes to the other side. So I'll make one rectangle here. As you can see, this side automatically, since I clicked on these existing lines, the points snap to those lines, and I don't need to set a dimension on the x-axis or the horizontal side, but I will set a dimension on this vertical side. So I'll set that to maybe 4 millimeters. And then I'll do the same thing on the other side, a new rectangle, click on one corner, and then click on the line on the other side. And then dimension tool, click on the vertical side and 4 millimeters. Perfect. So now, as we did before, I'll click the check in the top left to finish the sketch. And now we're back into 3D mode. And so, as we did before, when we extruded this whole object or component, we can extrude each individual little rectangle that we just made. So I'll hit this rectangle, and automatically it kind of juts out of the shape. And so I'll set this. I'll make this for my laptop. My laptop is pretty thin. It's maybe half a centimeter. So I'll say 0.5 and cm or centimeters. Awesome, here we go. So I'll click the check mark to confirm the extrusion. And boom, how cool is that? We have a 3D shape with another 3D shape attached to it. And so this is all considered one component since it's all put together. It's all attached. Awesome. So now that we have this, what I'll do is create the back side. And so the back side here, it looks like it's the same as the front, but just to simplify the design, I'll just make a big rectangle in the back. So going back to Onshape, to do that, well, again, in the top left, click Sketch, click on one of these faces to make the sketch on that plane and then align ourselves with that plane on the cube up here. So click top. Now I'll quickly zoom in and then again, rectangle tool. And I'll click on the corners of the rectangle. So one will be up here, way in the top left of our component. And then the other I'll make down in the bottom right. Yeah, so let's say there. And so one issue that you can see here is that this rectangle is not aligned with the side of our component. And we don't want that because that'll first of all look weird and it's unnecessary. So to fix this, what we can do is drag this, oh, whoops, I was in rectangle mode, so I'll just click escape. What we can do is drag this corner until it lines up with another corner. As you can see, it kind of gets a yellow rectangle around it. It's a little bit thin, but if you drag it on top of another corner or line, then release those two things, they'll be locked in the same position. So now if I click on this edge and try and drag it out, it doesn't work because I already constrained this point to another point. And so that's a cool way of kind of limiting the motion of something without using dimensions. And so I can do the same thing, I think, with this bottom side. Oh, no, never mind. That doesn't work. But so, yeah, see, so that doesn't work because this part of the component is not on the same plane as our sketch. And so this vertex can't align with this vertex, or this side can't align with this side or vertex. So what we can do instead is just use a dimension like we did before. So dimension tool, click on this side, and then I'll say 15 millimeters. And that perfectly aligns with that side. So now finish sketch. And then I'll go extrude again, as we did before. I'll click on our sketch and make sure to also select this rectangle in the corner since it doesn't automatically select it. And then for the depth, I'll say 5 millimeters, like we did before. And then hit the check mark and hit OK. Perfect. So now we've finished this. It doesn't look exactly like the design here, but it's close enough. It does the job. So I'm going to call that a success. Okay, so now you guys can try making this on your own. And then you guys can ask questions if you get stuck or anything, or if you have questions now.
Yeah, is there a way to make the bridge instead of like extruding it, but to like take away from the original one?
Take away from the original one.
Like for your first sketch, right? Like that instead of like extruding rectangles out from that sketch, is there a way to like take away like I don't know how to say it, like carve into that and like make the bridge like that?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. So yeah, so really quickly, let me just okay, I can duplicate this sketch, I think. Let's see. Okay, it's fine. I'll just okay, I'll really quickly make a new design and then I think I get what you mean. So make a new document. Okay. So what I'll do is I guess I'll make the same shape. Yeah, so I'll just make the same shape I had before. So Okay, I won't bother dimensioning this just for the sake of showing how you might do this. Okay. Okay, so what you can do to kind of cut away from this shape is if you extrude your rectangles. Yeah. So if you extrude your rectangles really far, for example, I could say 15 millimeters, right, and hit check. Then what you can do is create another sketch. Or actually, if you, here, I'll go ahead and edit my first sketch and I'll align myself with the plane and then create 2 more rectangles here in the corner. Something like that. And then kind of mess the extrusion up so I can double click the extrusion to edit it. And then select the shapes that it doesn't currently have. So what I can do to cut away from this is hit extrude. And then see the sketch is currently invisible, but I'll make it visible. So I can select all the shapes that I don't want to be on the bridge. For example, I could select this, this, and this. And then instead of extruding it, yeah, I can select, yeah, for example, 10. And so it extrudes it in the same direction. But as you can see, it turned red, meaning that instead of adding to the shape, it's going to cut away from it. So if I hit check, okay, it didn't look like that worked. Oh yeah, here. So currently it's set to the add mode, but I can hit remove here in the top of the extrude window, and that will remove it, as you can see. And hit check, and then there we go. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Right, perfect. Okay. So someone asked, can you put the rock space into it? I'm not exactly sure what that means. Oh. Yes, potentially. I'm not exactly sure how to do it with Onshape. I'm used to using Fusion 360, but I recently switched to Onshape. So I can try looking it up. So if I look up how to add, let's say, okay, I guess I could find a 3D model of the rock and then import it into my model. So for example, I could go see if this works. Okay, Sketchfab. Yeah, so by the way, Sketchfab, they're a very good site for free 3D models. Normally, they're more for things like game assets, but there are also some models for CAD. So this looks good. I guess I can download this. Okay. Here. Okay. Okay. By the way, if anyone else has any questions while they're trying to make the camera cover, you guys can post them in chat or turn on your mics. Okay. Okay. Oh, it says sketch could not be solved. Okay. So I think what that means is some of your dimensions might not be able, like, not be compatible. For example, if here I can edit this sketch. So I'll go top. For example, if you see, I already have a dimension here. Maybe if I also make a dimension down here and say something different, like 6. Yeah, see, so it says sketch could not be solved because this dimension is already set up here, right? But then if I just delete this, then it's fine. Yeah. And then also that error might pop up if you constrain stuff kind of implicitly, which means you select 2 points that already exist. For example, if I create a new rectangle and I select this point here and another point here, since these 2 points are already fixed, and well, I guess this point's not fixed, but if I were to dimension this like I did in my other design, right? And then I tried to dimension this side on top with something different, then again, the sketch cannot be solved. So I can just delete that and it's fine. Okay. Okay. So I can go back to importing the rock really quick. So I downloaded the model. And so now I'll look up how sketch on shape. By the way, this is just kind of like extra. You don't really use importing too much unless you're working with kind of another company or something and you want those parts. But yeah, this is pretty extra. So okay. Okay, looks like I can go here. Oh, then I can hit import, downloads. Uh, hmm, just say this and then hmm, didn't really work. Hmm. Okay, let me try making a new file. Okay. Hmm. Okay, it doesn't look like importing the model work. Let me go back to okay. It says one of your shapes did not regenerate properly when you tried to extrude. So, oh, there's the rock. Wait, let me go back to on shape and then this. Okay. Um, I'm not. Huh. I'm not really sure what that means. Um, I can try looking it up. By the way, Google is just a very good resource for looking up issues like this, since a lot of people, there are a lot of forums where people just post pictures of the same issue and they come to a solution. So Googling stuff is a really good resource. Okay, so it looks like OnShape, the official forum. Um, hmm, hmm. I'm not sure what this is. Hmm, hmm, okay. Hmm. It also says it's another part. That's interesting. Yeah. Hmm, hmm, hmm. It might be that one of your shapes isn't closed or something. For example, huh, know that? It's really interesting. Hmm. Do you want to like share a picture of what it's showing? Like share a picture of what you have in case someone else is also having the issue. It might be helpful. So I'm not really sure what that means. Hmm. Hmm. Let me try. Hmm. Um, yeah, I think if you attach the file, it'll work. Mhm. Mm.
If there are no more questions, we can end this meeting. Are you in the Discord?
Me? Yeah.
Oh, you're okay. Yeah, we can would it be okay if if we gave your Discord information and they asked for help there?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. But if there are no more questions, we'll go ahead and end this meeting. We have another workshop at 5 that'd be cool if you guys went, and thank you. That was a great presentation.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming.
Right. Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.